Hello everybody, Skyrim here, back again with another Diablo Immortal video. Alright, I am going to do, in this video, we are going to discuss the Haunt Coil gem finally. More of a final thoughts, general consensus across multiple outlets here. And I wanted to not just regurgitate the plethora of content already out there from all the other content creators on the platform, of course, the usual suspects, that kind of thing. I wanted to kind of put a different take, or no, not necessarily a different take, but some other added elements in here, hopefully that you haven't seen already, to kind of just mix it up and keep it a little fresh, right? But for the most part, let's get into it, okay? So we got to talk about the gem in its inception, everything to do about it here. It is a debuff gem to get the effect. So what does that mean? Of course, what you have to consider, if you want to extend the duration, we're getting straight into it here. If you want to extend the duration of this, because this, mind you, this is a rank 10. We'll go ahead and look at the rank 1 here in a second. But for those that don't know, this is what I also use as a gauging point whenever a new gem comes out. If they offer a gem trial on it, it is always best to look at it. Obviously see what the effects of it look like in game here. Actually, we're going to skip that. I'm not going to show that. But anyway, the whole effect about this one is you have a 10% chance to haunt an enemy for 6 seconds. This is applied per tick of damage. So we have multiple ticks of damage that we are doing in game. So this is pretty much going to proc pretty frequently. So don't worry about that, and don't be, confused by the 10% value here. It's whatever, right? It's going to happen. It's going to happen pretty frequently. How frequently is basically up to you and what you're capable of doing. There are a couple sources that will help invigorate this effect even further. So what you're going to want, of course, is the Feasting Baron set, because it will increase the duration of your harmful effects by 30%. So that will help increase that duration of that 6 seconds that much further, mind you, right? And also what you're going to need, if you want to go further, is this will also be very, very reliant on your potency level. Whatever your potency is on your build, this will favor mostly, I'd say, of course, Necros and, well, right now, Satyrs too. But there you go. If you have high potency, of course, you're going to have to still take into consideration how it's going to stack against the other player within that certain number range of, of 500 values up and down. So keep that in mind as well to get the most effect from it onto them. Or if they have high resistance, then obviously, especially if they're a whale and you're a free-to-play or low spender, you're not going to have as much impact with it in that regard. Okay, so that is how that will really translate into how well it's going to work for you against said player. Also, I've taken into account most of the battlegrounds and tower wars and such that are going on. Granted, we have the new season starting Monday, but hey, whatever. But if you look, I've been checking out most of what everybody's been geared with, and I've seen maybe one out of multiple battles I've done the past couple of days. I've only seen one, and it was a Necro, of course, that had one of those slotted in, and they had it, I think, at a rank 7 at least. So they were a higher spender anyway. But that was it. Nobody else was using it. They were still using the usual fare. So that is something to consider as well as a general overall consensus, instead of just saying, oh, is it good or is it bad? The usual stuff on the interwebs from, like I said, the usual suspects will be like, oh, it's a great gem. And then somebody, hold up, don't get it yet. Wait, stop and watch this before you make your, and then the constant back and forth. You know how it goes by now, right? So that's why, like I said, I wanted to kind of put a different, more collective take on it here. Also, I have seen in multiple Discords, and I was asking around as well, a general consensus so far that is lot of them have been necros, of course, that have chimed in saying, oh, I like this gem, it's great, blah, 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 blah. And they also said X, Y, and Z about Feasting Baron. Oh, and Misery Elixir. I almost forgot. Misery Elixir. If you have Misery Elixir, Feasting Baron, 2 pieces of Feasting Baron with the Haunt Coil and a significant amount of overall potency value, the duration of that effect will carry over for quite some time. So you will be able to squeeze a lot out of that gem and almost get it into maximum uptime. Okay, well, that will be your maximum uptime if you combine all these things, like I said, together. All right, so that is your most bang for the buck. That is what you need to do. You need to use as a combination to maximize its potential. All right, PvE or PvP, mind you. So there you go for that. That's something to consider if you want to go for it. Another thing to consider when it comes to this as well, whenever a new gem comes around, it doesn't just have to be the Haunt Coil, but in this case, we're going to look at it here. On the market, this is another telltale sign, okay? Look at this. We've got 1, 2, 3. There's 9 pages on here. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's 9 current as of right now of this recording. There's 9 5 out of 5 star Haunt Coils available. Okay, and you can see the price points on them in platinum right here. So you've got a lot that are willing to give these up, which is kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. So that's also on the other end of things, that the other end of the spectrum. People aren't really fussed about it, it seems, and they just are fine with giving it up for the platinum to those that really, really want it. Okay, now I'll give my personal take on this one. As a free-to-play, I do intend to at least acquire 1 copy of this and see where I'm at from here. It is definitely worthwhile PvE content. It will be unstrifed, and it will be a definite damage gem increaser for sure. So I do want to at least, like I said, acquire 1 of these to have while the Gem Surge event is also going on. And worst case scenario, if I only get a 2-star out of the mix, and even worst case scenario, if I don't get one with my crest runs, and even waiting for the Mirror Jewel to occur, which we are due for another one. We've gotten one every month since March, so that should be on its way back around the next update. So I will wait for that before burning any more. I've used 10 orange and 10 purple so far with no dice, so we'll just have to wait and give it a go again. And again, like I said, hopefully I'll get one, and then I'll see where the star quality is on it. My luck is usually around the 2, unfortunately, so be that as it may, worst case scenario, I will craft one before the Gem Surge event is over with Telluric Pearls, which I have saved up enough to craft 1 5-star gem currently, so that's why I like to at least keep that in the chamber whenever these things kind of come around, and build that up for that reason alone. And yes, I again will definitely try to make it at least a 3-star if that is the worst of the worst case scenario. All right, that's my plans. That's how I'm looking at this, and that's how I would throw it out there as just a generalized suggestion from a free-to-play standpoint. Okay, this one definitely I feel is worthwhile, worth the time. Now, going further into more discussion on this, we've discussed how to get the most out of the gem. Oh, and also the thing about this gem before we go into this, I'll bring that back in a moment. That's a little preview. The other thing about this gem is, if you apply this onto a player in PvP or other mobs, another player that would have the same gem, it stacks. It stacks and continues on. Okay, I mean, granted, your 20-second cooldown will be in effect, and however long your duration of the debuff from you to get the most damage onto the enemy, or damage reduction, whichever it is, whichever stance you have, it still will, reapply from other players. I mean, granted, you'll get diminishing returns in some aspects, but for the most part, this one stacks. So yeah, and pay no mind to the 10% chance to haunt the enemy for that effect, because It is every tick of damage. Every tick of damage that you do has a chance of doing this. So we stack multiple ticks of damage up in a matter of a split second anymore in this game. So you will definitely be getting this gem to proc and pretty frequently. So that's don't even pay attention to that. So there you go. Okay, now getting back around to this, let's go ahead and look at the Chinese side of things and what they think over there, right? I wanted to, here's the credit, where credit needs to be due here in this little article, okay? But here we go. Their suggestion. Now, these are, mind you, all 5-star gems. As a general consensus, this is their top list, the TO level, which is their top level, of course, in this particular instance. There is listed here. Now, I want your thoughts on this one. Let me know in the comments. We can all share and compare as per usual. That's the whole point of this, as always. So here we go. We got Blood-Soaked Jade. We got Roiling Consequence, and they have Bottled Hope as the top 3 5-star gems. So that is what they are, a general consensus over there. That's what they're putting in the rating list, which is interesting. As far as the Bottled Hope, there was a little bit of back and forth on that one. Globally, when I did my previous video on the legendary gems, which still holds pretty true. I probably have to update it and slot in the Haunt Coil now, but this is pretty much showing where that direction is headed. So now they're tier 1 gems, which is under these 3. Next up is the Colossus Engine, the Blood Flow, and the Haunt Coil. So that is 6 out of the 8 slots. Now this is listed in the PvE section. If we're purely looking at all 5-star gems, this is a daunting task as a free-to-play, mind you. So this is the long game. Okay, this is the long game. It is possible because I do have most of these slotted in myself currently, and I'm making do with that. I still have Pain Clasp is one of my favorite 2 stars. Spectre Glass is definitely another one. I haven't actually used it much myself, but I need to. That is another one right up there with it. So those are probably the best 2 stars off the top of my head anyway. Mother's Lament is another one, of course, if you need that. But we're getting off topic here. Let's stick on to the Haunt Coil. And like I said, the general consensus here for it looks like the developers are really trying to push us into pure 5-star gem, obviously, because they want everybody to invest. That's just how it is. That's just business per usual for the mobile market greed. But still, I mean, there are ways around it, and there are other gems that you can obviously use instead if you don't have these and if you don't want to pursue them. That's perfectly fine. This is this is just opinion and a more consensus. I'm just putting everything out there available as far as information is concerned for you yourselves to take and pick and choose and sift through however best fits your situation, your character class, where you're at in the game, all those things combined. This is what this is here for. Okay, this is what all this information is provided for. All right, so there we go. And then the last 2 slots, this is the other 5 that they say you can pick 2 out of course, to finish your 8 set gem off with, which is an interesting assortment. It's an interesting assortment. The Wolf Hearts, the Void Spark. The one looks like, I think it is Starfire. It's still got they have a different color to it. It should be, I think, a little bit more redder than that, but I'm pretty sure that's Starfire. The Maw, and they even have Gloom in here. So that's a very interesting last couple to finish the set of 8 off with. Now their PvP assortment, same 6 right out the gate. Same 6. So yeah, and then again with Starfire and what was that? Spiteful Blood. Yeah. Spiteful Blood, I think, for the shielding. So I mean, I understand that one, but anyway, there you go. That's a little bit more stuff I wanted to throw out there. Just, Thank you. What do you think? What do you think? At the end of the day, it's for all of us, of course, to make our own decisions on this. But like I said, I wanted to at least provide a little bit of a different take, hopefully, than what has already been thrown around constantly from the previous creators out there, and so on and so forth. So yeah, I did want to give something just a little different, of course. And one other thing, there's multiple reasons for doing this at the end of the video. I wanted to see if you are aware of this. This is something that was not in the patch notes, the previous thing, and it is a very, very nice thing. I did do a shorts video on this if you haven't checked it out already. I'll put it in here as well. Check it out. Look at this. We have in our Codex now, finally after over 3 years, we finally get this in our Codex. We can track our party gems for the day. This is absolutely glorious. This is absolutely glorious. I don't know why it took them this long, but another scenario yet again of better late than never, right? Now, I prefer to put this in the featured spot, and I suggest you do the same thing by clicking on it, replace featured. Yeah, find it down here in your list. The easiest way to do that, mind you, since this is a daily activity, this is how this got put in. This got put in pretty much under the radar for the most part, and we found it on our own accord later on after the patch went live with this drop-down list of all activities, weekly and daily. You go into your dailies, of course, and this is going to be in there. It, of course, changed the entire list, and it shortens it, mind you, and this might be a better way of going about things anyway, but I still like the all activities. I'm just gotten so used to seeing this, of course. But then I go and put this in the featured, so that way it's at the top of the top. As you can see here, I was behind by a little bit, about a day and a couple. So I played some catch up, and I got my 12 initial, and then I got the 14 bound, which I can care less if they're bound or unbound because I want them all for myself anyway. So I've been doing the 3-day catch up mechanic for the most part in the game. So yeah, that's where I'm at with that. And as you can see, the values on these other stuff as well here are all in here, which is different than it was before. And I'm glad to see that it gives a lot more detail. Finally, I don't know why it took them, again, like I said, this long to do so, but it's nice to see. And this is the utmost biggest plus of this of all. So I just want to put that in as a little side note at the end, and to see for how many people have hung in to the end of the video, and I appreciate you as always. So let me know what you think about all things discussed here. Hopefully that gives a little bit more of a, like I said, a more comprehensive value brought to the table here as far as discussing when it comes to these things about new gems in the game. I don't want to just go out there and be like, oh, right away. You know, I like for the dust to settle a little bit and try to, you know, and I suggest anytime, of course, with anything in any game, that's the better way, I think, of approaching things, as hopefully we've begun to learn up to this point. So anyway, until next time, everybody, stay safe out there in the real world, and fire as always, take care of yourselves as best you can, one day at a time. It is all we can do, is the best we can do for sure. Until next time, see ya.